Iran has some of the biggest reserves of natural gas and crude oil in the world, but the government is rationing electricity and telling citizens to do the same. We look at how the power blackouts are affecting businesses and what's behind the shortages.
There's a blackout on this motorway in Tehran. Iran's oil and gas reserves are among the biggest in the world, yet the country is struggling to keep the lights on. It's a problem that's affecting businesses here in the capital.
When there's a power cut in my cafe, it affects my work. I really don't know why they cut the power. What's more, they've ordered that shops should only be open until 8 p.m. How can I pay the rent for my cafe and my workers' wages? We have a production workshop in the industrial district. Because of the lack of electricity, our production has dropped to about a third. And to solve the problem, because the government hasn't done anything for us, we have bought an electric generator. But unfortunately, we can't find any diesel either. Every day from morning to noon, we have no electricity.
Iran blames sanctions, yet the country has made well over $100 billion from its energy exports in recent years, while spending big on military priorities. A lifting of sanctions to open the country up to foreign investment is only likely if a new nuclear deal can be agreed. Iran may even be forced to import gas, the consequence of years of diverting funds to power plays instead of investing in critical infrastructure.
We are now joined by Behnam Ben Taleblu, a senior fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies in Washington, D.C. His work focuses on Iranian security and political issues. Thank you so much for joining us. So, it is winter in Iran. We heard a little bit just now about how tough the season is going to be for people. But could you talk a little bit more? How serious is this in terms of impacting everyone in the country?
Well, it's a pleasure to be with you. It really is a national crisis, or dare I even say a national scandal, impacting the lives of millions of Iranians. As you know, earlier this month, there were rolling blackouts, kind of selective blackouts in parts of the country. Iranian politicians have rushed to point the finger at a combination of factors, be it Western sanctions or domestic overconsumption, with the latter being much likely more of a significant driver than the former. But also, as the package mentioned in the lead up right here, the years of mismanagement and misplaced resources when it comes to looking at both Iran's oil and gas infrastructure here, even though we're talking about gas, the failure to modernize, and the inability to invest back inside the domestic economy with the revenues, be it licit or illicit, derived from crude oil sales, have brought the Islamic Republic to the current crisis. And because of that, there's national curfews on lots of cities now where they have to turn off the power. Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian just hours ago had a speech where he immediately shut off the lights after the speech was done, and in effect to try to cut down on domestic consumption and try to create some kind of national symbol of energy saving. But all of this is a crisis built on structural rather than short-term problems, and therefore is likely to continue.
Now, you talk about years of mismanagement. Did the government then see this coming? Were they prepared for this?
If we talk about mismanagement across the various sectors of the Iranian economy, I would liken it akin to more of a stove that you see in a traditional restaurant with not just one, but multiple burners. All the burners, when you look at the Islamic Republic, whether you're looking at environmental, agricultural, industrial, energy, what have you, well, all of those burners are on and are on full blast. What the Islamic Republic has done politically is, with different administrations and governments, is to try to move the pot across each of these burners, some to the fore, some to the back. But it doesn't matter, who is the chef. You are likely going to have, significant scalding and burning, and that's why structurally the problem is likely to remain inside the Iranian economy today.
It must be really hard for people to imagine a country that produces gas and oil suffering with this energy crisis. And we have Iran also blaming Israel as well. Not too much of a surprise, but it is saying that Israeli attacks destroyed 2 major gas pipelines earlier this year. Is that true? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, there's no doubt the shadow war between Iran and Israel has moved out of the shadows. You had the New York Times reporting earlier this month about two alleged Israeli attacks on Iranian pipelines that could have had an amplifying or magnifying effect. But again, lest we forget that magnifying effect would have been limited had these issues not been structural, had these issues not been structural. So that's an important critique to keep in mind when looking at who the Iranian government is pointing a finger of blame at. But just to zoom out internationally a bit more, Iran has this energy paradox for many years now. Energy is cheaper inside the country, yet it still exports energy. Yet also historically in the past, it's been reliant on certain kinds of imports. For example, well over a decade and a half ago, the Islamic Republic actually had to import gas from neighboring Turkmenistan because of a similar gas shortage, and that had nothing to do with Israeli strikes reported or alleged.
Behnam Bentaleblu, a senior fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.